Have you ever wondered about the man who put a universe in your pocket? The visionary who made computers beautiful and turned a simple piece of fruit into a global icon? Today, we're diving deep into the incredible, turbulent, and ultimately triumphant life of Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. This isn't just a story about technology. It's a story about passion, failure, redemption, and the relentless pursuit of perfection that changed the world forever. Stephen Paul Jobs was born in San Francisco in 1955 and placed for adoption. He was raised in what would become Silicon Valley by Paul and Clara Jobs, a working-class couple who promised his biological parents he would go to college. His father, a machinist, was a huge influence, teaching young Steve how to work with his hands and introducing him to electronics in their garage. Growing up, Jobs was intelligent but rebellious. He questioned everything and everyone, a trait that would define his entire career. In high school, he met the person who would become his technical other half, Steve Wozniak, a brilliant electronics hobbyist 5 years his senior. They bonded over their love for technology and a shared passion for pranks. After high school, Jobs enrolled at Reed College, but famously dropped out after just one semester. He didn't leave, though. Instead, he stayed on campus, sleeping on friends' floors and auditing classes that truly interested him, like calligraphy. He later said this class was instrumental in the beautiful typography of the first Macintosh. In 1974, seeking purpose, he took a job at the video game company Atari, saving money for a spiritual journey to India. He returned a few months later, a changed man, a practicing Buddhist with a shaved head and a new perspective on life. It was back in California, at the Homebrew Computer Club, where the seeds of a revolution were planted. Wozniak had designed a brilliant computer circuit board, but he just wanted to give the plans away to fellow hobbyists. Jobs saw something much, much bigger. In 1976, working out of the Jobs family garage, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak founded Apple Computer. Their first product, the Apple I, was essentially just a circuit board. But Jobs had the vision to sell it as a pre-assembled product. Then came the Apple II in 1977. This was the game changer. With its friendly plastic case, color graphics, and built-in keyboard, it became one of the first commercially successful personal computers, turning Apple from a garage project into a real company. By 1980, when Apple went public, Jobs was a multimillionaire, just 25 years old. But success brought new challenges. Jobs was a difficult and demanding leader. In 1983, he famously recruited Pepsi executive John Sculley to be Apple's CEO, asking him, "Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world?" Jobs poured his energy into a new project, the Macintosh. He wanted to create a computer that was insanely great. Inspired by a visit to the Xerox PARC Research Center, he insisted the Mac have a graphical user interface and a mouse, making it incredibly easy to use. It launched in 1984 with a legendary Super Bowl commercial directed by Ridley Scott. The Macintosh was a masterpiece of design, but it was expensive and underpowered. Tensions between the visionary Jobs and the practical CEO Sculley reached a boiling point. In 1985, after a bitter power struggle, the board of directors sided with Sculley. At 30 years old, Steve Jobs was fired from the very company he had created. Devastated, but not defeated, this period of exile became one of the most creative in his life. He immediately founded a new company, Next, to build powerful computers for universities and businesses. While Next computers weren't a huge commercial success, their advanced operating system was revolutionary. But that wasn't all. In 1986, he saw potential in a small computer graphics division of Lucasfilm. He bought it for $10 million and renamed it Pixar. You might have heard of it. Jobs transformed Pixar from a hardware company into a storytelling powerhouse. In 1995, they released Toy Story Asterisk, the world's first fully computer-animated feature film, and it changed animation forever. This success would eventually lead to Disney acquiring Pixar for over $7 billion, making Jobs Disney's largest individual shareholder. Meanwhile, back at Apple, things were going from bad to worse. The company was on the brink of bankruptcy, losing market share and its innovative edge. In a stunning twist of fate, Apple decided the best way to save itself was to acquire Next in 1997, primarily for its operating system. The acquisition came with a crucial bonus: the return of Steve Jobs. He came back first as an advisor, then as interim CEO, or ICO. He immediately went to work, slashing the product line, killing off failed projects, and refocusing the entire company on a few key products. He brought back a sense of purpose and a ruthless focus on design. In 1998, he stood on stage and introduced the world to the iMac. It was a colorful, all-in-one computer that looked like nothing else on the market. It was a smash hit, and it announced to the world that Apple was back. This was just the beginning of one of the greatest corporate comebacks in history. Jobs then led a string of product launches that didn't just save Apple, they reshaped entire industries. In 2001, the iPod and iTunes revolutionized how we listen to and buy music. In 2007, he introduced the iPhone, a device that completely redefined the mobile phone and ushered in the age of the smartphone. And in 2010, the iPad created an entirely new category of device. His legendary keynote presentations, known as Steve-notes, became must-see events, where he would unveil these magical products wearing his signature black turtleneck, jeans, and sneakers. Behind the scenes, Jobs' personal life was just as complex. He had a daughter, Lisa, in his 20s, and 4 years he denied paternity, a painful chapter he later came to regret. He eventually reconciled with her. In 1991, he married Laureen Powell, and they had 3 children together. He also reconnected with his biological sister, the novelist Mona Simpson. He was known for his intense, almost mythical personality. His reality distortion field could inspire his teams to achieve what seemed impossible, but it could also manifest as a harsh, abrasive management style. He was a man of contradictions, a Zen Buddhist who could be incredibly impatient, a minimalist who obsessed over every tiny detail. Steve Jobs' life teaches us that the path to success is rarely a straight line. It's filled with failures, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But it's the passion, the belief in your vision, and the resilience to get back up after being knocked down that truly define greatness. He didn't just build products. He built tools that empowered creativity and changed the way we communicate, work, and live. His legacy isn't just in the devices we hold in our hands, but in the idea that with enough passion and determination, you really can put a dent in the universe. We all know the iconic image: the black turtleneck, the blue jeans, the new iPhone held high. But behind the legendary product launches and the revolutionary ideas was a complex, driven, and ultimately, a very human story. It's a story of incredible highs and devastating lows, a tale of genius, passion, and a battle that even he couldn't win. This isn't just about Apple. It's about the man who taught the world to think different. So, grab a seat as we explore the final chapters and enduring legacy of Steve Jobs. In 2003, at the height of his power and creativity, Steve Jobs received a piece of news that would change everything. During a routine scan, doctors discovered a tumor on his pancreas. But this wasn't the typical, aggressive pancreatic cancer that many fear. It was a much rarer, slow-growing form called a pancreatic neuroendocrine tumor. This diagnosis offered a glimmer of hope. It was treatable, even curable, with surgery. Most people would have rushed to the operating table, but Jobs, ever the nonconformist, chose a different path. For 9 long months, he resisted the surgery his doctors strongly recommended. Instead, he turned to alternative medicine. He tried a strict vegan diet, acupuncture, herbal remedies, and even consulted a psychic. He was convinced he could will the disease away through his own methods. His friends and family pleaded with him, but Jobs was famously stubborn. He believed in his intuition above all else. Looking back, it was a decision he would come to deeply regret. He later admitted to his biographer, Walter Isaacson, that his initial resistance was a mistake. By the time he finally agreed to surgery in July 2004, the cancer had had precious time to potentially spread. The surgery, known as a Whipple procedure, was successful in removing the primary tumor. For a while, it seemed like he had dodged a bullet. Jobs returned to Apple, and the world saw the launch of some of its most iconic products, including the first iPhone in 2007, to the public. He was the same energetic, brilliant leader. But behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding. The cancer was a shadow that never truly left him. His health began to visibly decline. He appeared gaunt and frail at public events, sparking widespread speculation and concern. Apple, fiercely protective of its CEO's privacy, released minimal information, often attributing his weight loss to a common bug or a hormone imbalance. This only fueled more rumors. The truth was far more serious. The cancer had metastasized, spreading to his liver. Jobs took several medical leaves of absence, each one longer than the last. He fought the disease with the same intensity he brought to everything in his life, undergoing cutting-edge treatments. In 2009, he took a 6-month leave and traveled to Tennessee for a liver transplant. The surgery was a success, and for a time, it gave him a renewed lease on life. He returned to Apple once more, a little slower, a little weaker, but still with that unmistakable fire in his eyes. He was determined to keep working, to keep creating, right until the very end. By the summer of 2011, it was clear that the end was approaching. Jobs' health had deteriorated significantly. He was in constant pain and had lost a tremendous amount of weight. He knew he could no longer fulfill his duties as the leader of the company he had co-founded in a garage decades earlier. On August 24, 2011, Steve Jobs officially resigned as CEO of Apple. In his resignation letter, a masterpiece of brevity and emotion, he wrote, "I have always said, if there ever came a day when I could no longer meet my duties and expectations as Apple's CEO, I would be the first to let you know. Unfortunately, that day has come." He strongly recommended his longtime deputy, Tim Cook, as his successor, ensuring a smooth transition for the company he loved. He became the chairman of the board, but his active role was over. He spent his final weeks at home in Palo Alto, surrounded by his wife, Laureen, and their children. He met with close friends and colleagues, saying his goodbyes. On October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at the age of 56. The official cause of death was respiratory arrest, resulting from the complications of his pancreatic cancer. The world mourned the loss of a titan. His sister, the novelist Mona Simpson, was with him in his final moments. She later described his last words. As he looked past his family, as if seeing something wonderful just beyond their sight, he said, simply, "Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow." It's almost impossible to overstate Steve Jobs' legacy. He wasn't just a businessman. He was a cultural force who fundamentally changed how we live, work, and communicate. Think about it. He revolutionized not one, not two, but at least 6 distinct industries. First, the personal computer with the Apple II and the Macintosh. He made computers personal, accessible, and user-friendly. Then, animated films. When he bought a small graphics division from Lucasfilm and turned it into Pixar, he ushered in a new era of computer-animated storytelling with classics like Toy Story. He completely upended the music industry with the iPod and the iTunes Store, changing how we buy and listen to music forever. Then came the iPhone, which didn't just redefine the mobile phone. It created the entire smartphone market as we know it today. After that, he pioneered the tablet computing category with the iPad, a device many dismissed at first, but which quickly became a staple. And finally, He even shook up digital publishing with iBooks. His core philosophy was the seamless integration of hardware, software, and elegant design. He believed that technology should be not just powerful, but beautiful and intuitive. It was this relentless pursuit of perfection that transformed Apple from a struggling niche company into the most valuable corporation on the planet. But Jobs' legacy extends far beyond a list of products. It's embedded in a mindset, a philosophy that continues to inspire millions. His mantra, "Think different," wasn't just a brilliant marketing slogan. It was his life's code. He challenged the status quo at every turn. He encouraged his teams to pursue insanely great ideas, to ignore the cynics, and to make a dent in the universe. He was known for his reality distortion field, an almost magical ability to convince people that the impossible was, in fact, possible. In his famous 2005 commencement speech at Stanford University, he shared some of his deepest insights on life, love, loss, and death. He talked about connecting the dots, following your heart, and not settling. He concluded with a powerful charge that has become a rallying cry for entrepreneurs, artists, and dreamers everywhere: stay hungry. Stay foolish. This advice encapsulates his spirit perfectly. Never be satisfied with what you've achieved, and always be willing to take risks and try new things, even if others think you're crazy. If you want to truly understand the man behind the myth, I highly recommend Walter Isaacson's authorized biography, Steve Jobs, based on over 40 interviews with Jobs himself, as well as conversations with his family, friends, and rivals. It offers an unfiltered look at his brilliant, complex, and often contradictory personality. It's a definitive account of a life that truly changed the world. So, what can we take away from the incredible story of Steve Jobs? He was a man of immense contradictions, a visionary who could be a tyrant, a Zen Buddhist who was a master capitalist, a man who created tools for connection, could be intensely private and distant. His life teaches us about the power of passion, the importance of design, and the courage to follow your own path, no matter how unconventional. It's also a cautionary tale about the limits of genius and the preciousness of time. He left us with a world filled with his creations, a universe of technology that feels more human, more intuitive, and more beautiful because of him. And he left us with a challenge to stay hungry, to stay foolish, and to make our own dent in the universe. Thank you so much for watching. What's your favorite Steve Jobs story or Apple product? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of people who changed our world. See you next time.